A couple other concepts that can help you graph these with more accuracy and more confidence is, again, looking at and determining where its zeros are at. So to determine where its zeros, we're asking f of x equals 0. So let's solve this. Or actually, let's factor it is what we're really asking. So let's factor this term. The first thing I'm going to do is multiply everything through by a -1, just to make it a little bit easier. Factor out an x squared. What's left is an x squared minus a 4x plus a 4 equals 0. X squared, this is x minus 2 squared equals 0. And that if I kind of look at that, this is really an x times an x times an x minus 2 times an x minus 2 equals 0. And so from that, I can determine where its zeros are at. And for that to be true, I have to make this to be true. So this is true when x is 0. This is also true when x is 0. This is true when x is 2. And this is also true when x is 2. So that tells me that I have two places on my graph, 0 and 2, that are zeros of this particular function. And if I back up a little bit, I remember that it also has some end behavior. The end behavior is identified by this negative. That tells me that the graph, well, it's by the negative and the index. Since its index is even and its coefficient is negative, that tells me the graph falls to the left and falls to the right. But what happens in between? What's going on here? And what we can determine here is subtly included here. Notice that I have two factors that are both 0. So that means that I have a factor, or I have a 0 that's 0 twice, or it has a multiplicity of 2. Likewise, I have a 0 that's 2 here. It's also 2 there. That means I also have a 0 that's 2, but it has a multiplicity of 2. It's there twice. So when I have an even multiplicity of a 0, that tells me that the graph touches the 0, but turns around. Touches the 2 and turns around. So I'll have some graph that will look similar to that. It doesn't pass through the 0 and go up or pass through that 0, because both of these zeros, 0 and 2, have a multiplicity of an even number.